Dear viewers, welcome back to another episode of Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this segment, we focus on important editorials from major newspapers such as the Hindu, the Indian Express, Live Mint, Business Standard, etc. for effective understanding of students. Now, through this program, we primarily focus on three things. First, we try to link the editorial with that of the UPSC syllabus. Secondly, we try to decode or decipher what are the key points that are mentioned in the editorial. And lastly, and most importantly, we try to learn what are the key concepts, if any, that are mentioned in the editorial. We truly hope and believe that you love this initiative of Dristhi IAS. Dear viewers, please feel free to give us your valuable suggestions so that we can strive to do better each and every day. So with a lot of gratitude in our heart to our viewers, let us start today's session of Editorial Analysis.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
For today, we have opted for the editorial from the Hindu, dated 05/09/2020. The title of the editorial is New Dimension, where it talks about the recent statement made by the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, on the militarization of the Quad. And the editorial has raised a question on whether this is a new policy that India is adopting or not. So now let us try to link this editorial with that of the UPSC syllabus. Now from mains perspective, we can connect it to general studies too, with international relations. To further narrow it down, we can connect it with India and its neighborhood relations, bilateral, regional and global relations. Now let us try to understand what is the key points that are mentioned in the editorial. So as you all might be aware, the recent India-China conflict has been brewing at the borders over the past few months. We have lost soldiers on both sides of the border and it is kind of still very tensed. So recently the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, stated that India believes the Quad would be a good mechanism to ensure freedom of navigation operations in the Indian Ocean and surrounding oceans, including the Indo-Pacific. Now, from what the Chief of Defence Staff has stated, the suggestion is that India is now prepared to join Quad military patrols and also place more significance into the Quad. Now, if, as per the CDS has stated, if this is the policy and if this happens, then it will be a significant shift in the government's posture towards the Quad. That includes India, United States, Australia and Japan. Now, why did I say it will be a significant shift? See, now let us try to look at the statement. Now, it is very easy to understand the statement made by the CDS that, no fear of any other nation singularly trying to dominate the ocean. So, it is very easy to surmise that this statement is a veiled reference to China because of the recent border skirmishes, etc. And this statement, if it is going to be followed by India, or if we are shifting our policy, it then definitely marks a departure from the earlier reticence. Reticence means technically we have been a little reserved when it comes to a policy related to the Quad, etc. And public statements made by the government. Now, why do I say it's a departure from the earlier reticence? Now, for example, in 2018, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, had stated that India sees Indo-Pacific as a geographical concept and not as a strategy or a club of limited members, which made very sense because our policy is that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, everyone can coexist together. So India never considered the Indo-Pacific as our own personal property. Anyone can be there provided we're all growing together and not bullying each other. And another factor is that India is the only Quad member that is not tied in a treaty alliance with the other members of the Quad. Like other members of the Quad always have a treaty, alliance, that supports each other. But India has always stayed away from such treaty alliance. So The Indian Navy also has never taken part in any joint patrols outside of the Indian Ocean, and even within the Indian Ocean, it held a first, a joint patrol with France only recently. So, in terms of engagement with the Quad, India has also not yet formally announced a decision to include Australia in the annual Malabar exercises with US and Japan. So, if you look at it, this 4 points, has been in existence, and the statement by CDS then terribly makes a significance because it marks a departure, as I stated, from its earlier reticence and public statements made by our government. So, what may have pushed India, to take a more strategic outlook towards the Quad? Now, the recent LAC tensions and clashes, as well as the Chinese army's refusal to implement border agreements, have increased our distrust of China, thereby convincing India that she needs new strategies to deal with China. Now, though India continues to engage diplomatically, there is no doubt that an outcome of the tensions will be a strengthening of India's ties with global powers such as the US as well as formations of the Quad. However, we need to stress that India still believes in engaging with China diplomatically. Are there concerns? Yes, as per the editorial, India is the only country in the Quad that shares a land boundary with China. And technically, this whole importance that we're giving towards Quad, it is kind of unclear how does the militarization of the Quad in the Indo-Pacific waters help alleviate the territorial threat that we face on our borders. So this is one thing that is not being clear, and that is why the editorial is asking the government of India to make our policy publicly available. So with this, we have concluded the key points that we have to learn from the editorial. And now we look at the key concepts that are important in the editorial. So most importantly, our focus will lie on the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue or the Quad. So what is the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue or the Quad? So technically, it is simply an informal strategic dialogue between India, USA, Japan and Australia. And what has been the objective of the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue? To ensure and support a free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. So now let us try to look at the formation of the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. Now the formation began when the idea of Quad was first mooted by the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2007. However, the idea could not move ahead with Australia pulling out of it apparently due to Chinese pressure. Later in December 2012, Shinzo Abe again floated the concept of Asia's democratic security diamond involving Australia, India, Japan and the US, the four democratic countries, to safeguard the maritime commons from the Indian Ocean to the Western Pacific. Finally, in November 2017, India, US, Australia and Japan gave shape to the long-pending Quad coalition to develop a new strategy to keep the critical sea routes in the Indo-Pacific area free of any influence and especially aiming at China. Now another important concept we have to learn is the Malabar Exercise, which has been in news very often. Now the Malabar Exercise technically started as a joint naval exercise between India and the United States in 1992. The exercise was later expanded into the trilateral format with the inclusion of Japan in 2015. Recently, with the skirmishes and the rise of China, India has been discussing the proposal to invite Australia into the trilateral Malabar naval exercise in the Bay of Bengal that is to be happening later this year. The recent tensions, between India and China could push the former, that is India, to give the green signal, because India has always been hesitant to, invite Australia and not to make the Quad look like, alliance against China. However, with the recent tensions, India could actually invite Australia to join the Quad. Now, if Australia decides to join the exercises, then it would make it the first time since 2007 that all members of Quad will participate in a joint military drill aimed ostensibly at China. Now, let us try to understand this editorial from the prelims and mains perspective. Now, from prelims perspective, UPSC has not asked anything so far related to the Quad grouping, but it can be very unpredictable. So one question can definitely come from the quad grouping related to its objective and does it have a headquarter or is it in some country, etc. Some questions can be asked. Also, a question can be raised related to the countries involved, in the quad grouping. Now, from the mains perspective, again, the quad has never come into a question directly, but question was raised in 2019. The time has come for India and Japan to build a strong contemporary relation, one involving global and strategic partnership that will have a great significance for Asia and the world as a whole. So when you're trying to answer this question, UPSC will definitely expect you to write something about the quad grouping as well. And this question, that is, in the face of rising uncertainty in geopolitics, examine the relevance and implications of the quad grouping. This is a question from our end. So, dear viewers, please feel free to write your answer in the comments below so that we can discuss this further. So, with this, we have concluded today's session of editorial analysis. Hope we have done thorough justice to help you understand the article easily. Dear viewers, please feel free to give us your valuable suggestions so that we can strive to do better each and every day. So until next time, stay safe, thank you and good night.